around the league. The Anthony Davis watch is on full tilt right now, with multiple reports today suggesting the Lakers are done, upping their offers to the Pelicans until the Pelicans are willing to counteroffer. The LA Times reported today Lakers president Magic Johnson called the Pels and Dell Demps this morning to say they've made their best offer. LA was ready to gut their young core: Kuzma, Ingram, Ball, Zubats, Hart, 2 first-round draft picks. They were all ready to go for Anthony Davis. The Times quotes a source as saying the Pelicans' demands are, quote, outrageous and unrealistic. Guys, it seems to me exactly like what the Pelicans would want the rest of the league to hear, right? That the asking price is going to be really, really high if you want Anthony Davis.
Well, I think what's fascinating about this is, from what we understand, Dell Demps was not even returning calls to the Lakers. So to me, what this smacks of is the Lakers are desperate to get word to Dell Demps and the Pelicans. No, listen, we're serious. We'll give you everything and then some.
Right.
It's a fascinating thing to watch this play out in the media. Now that I'm on this side of the street, and Jason, I'm sure for you it's similar. You watch these things play out and you can almost predict the next thing that happens. I mean, it wasn't even 3 minutes after the tweet went out about the Lakers are out that we got the clarification of what out means. We're out until they call us.
Right. Until we're back in.
That's right.
Griff, maybe the folks at home need to understand why the Lakers are trying so hard to get it done now, rather than say, okay, if you don't want to do it now, we'll do it later on. It's because other people can get involved later on, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the competition goes up astronomically at the end of the season because there's so many teams then that will have cap space. Their picks will be known, so teams that are lottery teams that may or may not have very high picks can get into the mix at that point that currently may not be able to. Teams that are current playoff teams that don't really want to upset their rosters can get into the mix in the offseason. And obviously everybody's waiting to see what Boston may or may not do, because they certainly have the assets to make what would be termed a Godfather offer in this circumstance. So if you're New Orleans, silence is golden at this point, because everyone's upping their offer hour after hour, and you don't have to do anything.
Unless you simply just want to be done with it, right? And just get away from the headlines and move on with the franchise's life, because in the meantime, this is hanging over the Pelicans.
Well, it's not going to go away.
Right.
And so New Orleans knows, what they want. And at the end of the day, they have a very talented player in Anthony Davis. And so if nothing happens, then they have to deal with that come the summer. But I think Anthony Davis is going to be attraction, not just now, but, after the trade, because he's so young and so talented. And, the business of basketball is never going to change. There's always going to be a trade before the All-Star break to make a team better, or for a team to position itself for the summer for free agency.
You've seen this scenario play out from a number of different vantage points, including as an All-Star player who was either about to be traded or just being traded. Take me into what's going on in the Davis camp right now as they kind of watch this develop.
Well, for me, I was in this, in New Jersey at the All-Star break, at the All-Star game. Didn't know if I was going to be on the East or West because of the talks of being traded to Dallas. And so right now, just the unknown that you just want to, as a player, you just want to play. And you want the business of basketball to be taken care of quickly so you can move on and that everybody's happy.
Hey, just as an offer in terms of value, how good an offer is that from the LA Lakers? If that's the real thing, that's a lot.
Well, there's not a whole lot more they can throw in.
Right.
Basically what they've said is if it's not LeBron and not nailed down, it's yours. What's really interesting about it, though, that deal doesn't have to change in the offseason. So one reason New Orleans doesn't have to feel any urgency is none of the pieces that are in that offer will be off the table in the offseason, and presumably, you presume that if you're New Orleans. So none of those pieces expire. None of those are pieces that you have to act on quickly. So it's really interesting for it to play out publicly in this manner. Typically, the best deals are made when you walk silently and carry a big stick, like Kevin O'Connor did when he moved Darren Williams from Utah to New Jersey in the middle of the night.
Jason, you've been on both sides of this now, as that player that could have been traded and as a coach who has to try and direct these young men. So for Luke Walton right now, here he's sitting with a bunch of guys. They're fighting to try and make the playoffs. If LeBron comes back and plays, maybe they make it. If not, they're not going to make it. But what about these guys whose names are on the screen that they're all sitting there saying, wow, I'm moving on to New Orleans, it looks like. What's going on? It was a tough spot for Luke, no?
That's a great question, and it is a tough spot. And I think for the young players, or for Luke himself, is trying to talk about, listen, this is the business of basketball. Everybody's name is going to be involved in trade deadlines, and understand that you have one job, and that's just to focus on what you can control. Be a pro, come out, represent the Lakers tonight in the next game until there's a deal done, because most likely there could be no deal and they have to move forward, and they are fighting for the playoffs because every game counts before the All-Star break, and then they count even more after the All-Star break. So Luke is in a tough situation, but he's been there as a player and now as a coach with these young guys, and they trust Luke.
So many of the players tell us they don't pay attention to what happens in the media anyway, right? I believe that, right? Of course, so this shouldn't bother them at all. Of course,